Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be another Canadian Soldier Reacts video, and today we are looking at the 3-day course before starting Royal Marine Commando training. Now, this has all the earmarks to me of what's called a selection course. And it's not something that generally happens in the Canadian forces unless you're going for one of the specialty units. So anybody who's been to the channel before knows I'm a former Special Forces soldier with the Canadian Army, 1987 to 1998 with the 1st Battalion of the Royal Canadian Regiment. I've gone through pretty much all of this training before, but even I didn't have to go through a selection phase. But they did still weed us out during training, and I should have opportunities to talk about that while we're looking at the video. So let's get into it.
Before you even start, you have to complete a pre-joining fitness test at a local gym and an interview with a military careers advisor. And then it's on to the course, the CPC as it's known.
Yeah, so like I said before, we didn't have to do anything like that. And the reasons were 2 or 3-fold for that. And I'm a little surprised that they're still doing this today. It's a tough answer here. So you are balancing, do you want more recruits, and do you want to be able to train those recruits, or do you want people that are already good enough to get in? And I don't mean good enough to pass, I mean good enough to get in. Because you can still get good recruits that don't necessarily meet the minimum standards that they have to get in, that are still motivated enough to train to do what they need to do. Because I'm going to tell you right now, 50% or maybe even more of Special Forces training, it's all mental. The physical side of Special Forces training comes if you've got the mental capacity to push yourself.
It's the final part of the selection process. It's a chance for us to look at the candidates, see they are physically and mentally robust enough to undertake the recruit orientation phase and training.
Or at least in Canada,
that's what the candidates to look at us, see if us Royal Marines as
a Master Warrant Officer would also be called a Company Sergeant Major. So he would be the senior enlisted man for a company, and a company is generally 120 men.
Organisation is something that they actually want to do.
After settling into Commando Training Centre at Lympstone on the first day, the tests start bright and early on the second day with the Royal Marines Fitness Assessment.
Oh, I know what this is. So Canada does something very similar, if not exactly the same as this now. I never did it. It's one of the newer things that they do. It's called a shuttle run. And they've got basically a metronome, and you've got so many seconds to do each run in the shuttle run, and that time gets shorter and shorter and shorter. So you'll be getting faster and faster and faster. So you've got to do 2 things. You've got to make it to the next side before the next bell, or you're out. If you miss one, you're out. And then you've got to make a minimum number of those, or you're tossed. This is something... All of this, everything that you're about to see, I'm 100% certain, is conditioning and can be taught as long as you've got the mental capacity. And the guy in the center here, in Canada, we called him a Perry. I don't really know what that stands for, physical education, something or other, I'm guessing. But they were not part of the unit. They were their own job classification. They were not Special Forces.
A 20-metre shuttle run that starts off fairly gently but gets a lot faster as the beats get closer together.
That's good.
30 press-ups, 40 sit-ups.
30 press-ups and 40 sit-ups. Now, again, our physical fitness test so we did 2 different physical fitness tests. We did one at the end of basic training that everyone had to do. And then we did another one at the end of combat arms training or battle school. And the first one, if I remember, was 50 press-ups and 200 sit-ups, I believe. It's been 1987 is when I did it, so it's been a long time.
4 pull-ups.
Oh, we didn't do pull-ups at all.
This beep.
Oh, and doing pull-ups, or as Canada calls them, chin-ups, on that kind of a beam, significantly harder than doing it on a bar. Like, so yeah.
Then they practice what's called feet to beam. Everything people do on this course is demonstrated by one of the physical training instructors, all CPC instructors, so you know what's expected, because their standards are exact.
So I'd sort of emphasise to people, make sure that they can do it before they get here. Not just being able to scrape through the numbers, being able to get well over them, so that they know effectively the first test is almost a box ticking exercise, that they can pass it, to then sort of earn the right, as it were, to go on to the rest of the day.
So we did the same thing, sort of. I mean, we were told, when I signed my papers, they told me what the fitness standards would be. It was a 1.5 mile run in 12 minutes, which what I found out after I got through training, that a 1.5 mile run in 12 minutes is almost walking. It's like nuts how easy that is. And I thought it was so hard when I first started doing it. Then it's 50 push-ups, they call them in Canada, and I think it was 200 sit-ups. And then there was some swimming parts of that, but I think that was the basics coming out of battle school. There was a lot more, coming out of basic training. There was a lot more coming out of battle school.
Does the rest of the day look like? Next up, swim test. The pool here at Lympstone is 33 metres long. The candidates will come in, they'll jump off the diving board behind me, which is 3 metres high. They'll do 2 laps of the pool and then tread water for 2 minutes. They then have to get out of the pool unaided. At any point across the candidate preparation course, if you don't pass, you will be sent home. But as you can attempt the CPC 3 times, you're given feedback. So if you want to try again, you can get some bespoke hints and tips that may help you.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's an interesting tact. What they're doing is they're leaving it up to the motivation of the people that are applying. And to be honest, that's a good thing, right? Because, like I said, mostly mental. And if you're not willing to apply the effort that's necessary to break through whatever walls that you have, then they don't want you. And I get it. They don't want you. And they can't have a person who's not going to be self-motivated. Because, to be honest, 99% of this job is self-motivated. If you're not self-motivated, your master corporal, sergeant, whoever it is not going to be able to do anything with you. They need motivated self-starters.
Or unfortunate to fail part of the test, then you'll be sat down, debriefed by myself or one of the other instructors on what you've been doing training-wise for the CPC. We'll give you some steering points, preparation for your next attempt, guide you through there, and then hopefully you'll come back and be successful.
No preparation test would be complete without going over the low and high obstacles, and then an introduction to the infamous bottom field.
Oh, Lord. I may have to cut this out. I'm going to see if I can't talk over it mostly so I don't get demonetized.
This course is designed to push you, and you're only halfway through. Let's get a candidate perspective.
I was quite confident about the fitness tests, and I was getting 10 pull-ups on a normal pull-up bar. I was getting smashing out all these reps and doing well. And actually, when you get there, the way that they instruct you to do it and the way that they advise you to do it is a lot different. And I feel like you need to be well over what you think is all right, and definitely nowhere near just the minimum.
Yeah, absolutely. They're never looking for the minimum. I mean, you know, you could get through with the minimum, but I've seen guys who were well above the minimum who actually got passed over because of the mental. If they weren't trying hard enough, we haven't seen it yet, but normally a selection phase like this is actually looking to push you to your limit to see how far you can or will go. And if they don't they can get you to your limit if you're willing to go that far. But if you're not willing to go that far and you basically coast through it, even if you're really physically fit, if you just coast through it, you're likely to fail or not be selected because, again, they're absolutely looking for the mental portion of this. I mean, don't get me wrong. You will 100% fail if you don't meet all the physical standards, but they have to see that you've got that mental fortitude also.
Day 3. It's up to Woodbury Common for the endurance course. They'll be going through tunnels, water, crawling, sprinting and more. And it begins with a warm-up.
Just jogging normally.
So all of this, everything that I'm seeing here is similar to what we did in either in basic training or in battle school. It's a little bit of both, to be honest. We were slightly less strict in basic training, TQ2, but in battle school we were significantly more stringent. But generally, everything that I'm seeing so far is similar to the kind of tests that we would have done. Like I say, the standards, because the standards that I had to go through were standards to pass, not standards to get in, so the standards were significantly higher.
Okay, knees up, knees up, knees up, knees up.
Early morning we'll go into sort of the unknown section and the physical element that they can't really...
Oh, that's another good, the unknown section. So again, this comes back down to the mental. It's unknown on purpose because it's harder. It creates more difficulty in your head if you don't know what it is that's coming up.
Practice. We're not there to expect the finished product, but we want to see that potential for them to be able to push themselves. And it's exactly that sort of mental willpower, as it were, that when they're in their own little bubble in their head, can they tell themselves to carry on? And that's what we're there to see.
Yeah, because when you're actually doing the job, you will absolutely face the wall in your head when you question whether you can carry on. And you have to be able to push through that wall. And if you can't, you'll get yourself and possibly the rest of your section killed. It's vitally important.
It is a determination test after all.
And bags of determination you will need. Some highlights?
Yeah, so this part is just all about making them uncomfortable, making them do things that they don't want to do, that no normal person would want to do, and to tire them out as much as possible, push them to their physical limits, because pushing them to their physical limits will also push them to their mental limits.
A dunk in Peter's pool. Going underwater through the sheep dip. Oh, and don't forget, at any moment you'll be asked to get down and do some...
Oh, that's interesting. So that's what's called a stress position. So there were a bunch of stress positions that they would put us in all the time. That one's one. There's the plank, which is elbows on the ground, back and toes on the ground, back straight, and your chin in your hands, or sometimes your forearms on the ground, but always with the back straight. they would put us into the push-up position all the time. And again, your back had to be straight. And there were other things that they could do, like back against the wall in that sitting position again. This position is actually a little bit easier than if they had a wall or if they're back against a tree in the sitting position. All kinds of things like that they would do. And again, it's just to push you physically and mentally.
Press-ups.
Everyone now down the press-up position. Hurry up. Knees off of the floor. Everyone now down the press-up position. Hurry up.
Yeah,
and just when you think you're done, it's a change into trainers and a 3.5-mile run back to camp.
The endurance course today.
Yeah.
Which bit hurts?
Everything hurts.
And
I don't think you can
be.
actually prepare for the endurance course. Like, I've been doing HIIT workouts, and as long as...
So that's not true. You can actually prepare for endurance. Long runs, you definitely have to have stamina. You can make it a lot easier on yourself. So when I did my 6A, which is the Combat Commanders course, I did what was known at the time as a pre-6A in Ipperwash, Ontario, Camp Ipperwash. And I had Sergeant Major Dave. And if you were in 1RCR around the late 80s, early 90s, you will know Sergeant Major Dave. Everybody knew him. And he pushed us so hard on that 3-week pre-course that the physical aspects of the 6A were trivial to us. And I will be, even though I was cursing his name at the time, I will be forever grateful to him for doing that.
As you just know that that's what you want, then I think you just stick at it. I was looking at the layout of the endurance course before and just counting down every little thing that they done and just stuck out until the end.
On the course, there's also information sessions on weapons, fieldcraft and what it's actually like to be a Royal Marine. And before you attend the candidate preparation course, you get an itinerary of what to bring and what to expect.
And if it is their first time away from family, first time on a military base, we give them all the necessary briefs to make them as comfortable as possible in the environment. Exactly the same for females, go through exactly the same process, same sleeping quarters, just segregated from the men.
Those who pass the CPC are invited to start the recruit orientation phase, a precursor to Phase 1 Commando training. The hard work may have paused for the time being, but really, it's only just getting started.
Yeah.
Bryony Williams, Forces News, Commando Training Centre, Lympstone.
So, if they pass this, the hard work just gets harder until they're done. I don't know exactly how long this one is, but for us, we had 10 weeks of TQ2 and then another 13 weeks of TQ3. And then we went to battalion. And they like to say all the time is when you get to battalion, that's when the training starts. The first 23, 26 weeks, that's all just recruit training. That's just passing your recruit process. You actually start training when you get to battalion. Anyway, so that's it. It's nothing too out of the ordinary. I find it interesting that they're expecting this to be passed in the first couple of days. I think that's a remnant of when there were a lot of recruits. And there's a lot of problems getting recruits these days. So I wouldn't be surprised if they switch this pretty soon. And I know a lot of units have done this to where they'll actually train you to where you need to be. I know the Americans are definitely doing it. I can't remember what it's called, but they take people who aren't necessarily physically fit or even have the grades to do the things that are necessary, and they actually teach them. And that's good because, again, it's always going to be limited by the person's own mental fortitude. And honestly, as long as somebody can be taught, trained, conditioned, and they have that mental fortitude, they're going to make a good soldier. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.